In January of this year, a British newspaper conducted a poll of Americans, asking them to point to Iran on a map, and less than a third of all respondents were actually able to correctly identify where Iran is. Now, I know you guys know where Iran is, but this video will hopefully provide you some information on the geography, people, and history of Iran that you might not be totally familiar with. And also, this is where Iran is. So the first thing that you need to know about Iran is that it's really big. It's bigger than Texas. If you put it on a map of the United States, you can see here that it would cover a significant part of the Midwest. The other thing you want to remember about Iran's geography is that it's really diverse. One of the first things I learned when I learned Farsi was how to say Tehran has 4 seasons. And it's true. While there's plenty of Iran that's covered in desert, and climate change is actually a huge problem here with both desertification and just rising temperatures. There are also, though, plenty of mountain ranges and a very temperate climate in the north. Before we go too much further, I want to make one really quick note on terminology, and that's what we call this body of water. So there is actually an official U.S. geographer, and according to the official geographer of the United States, it's called the Persian Gulf. While Saudi Arabia and other Arab states on the southern part of the Gulf may prefer to call it the Arabian Gulf, and you will often hear me just say the Gulf because I lived in Dubai for 3 years, the correct term is the Persian Gulf. Anyway, my point is that while a lot of Iran does look like this is the Lut Desert in the east, a lot of it also looks like this. This is Mazandaran province in the north. But to most Iranians actually living inside Iran, what their country looks like is this. This is a picture of Tehran, and 3/4 of Iran's population lives in highly urban areas like this. And that's what I wanted to note about Iran's population. While Iran may, in terms of geographic size, be very similar to Saudi Arabia, it's got more than twice the number of people. Around 85 million people live in Iran, which makes it equivalent in population to Turkey and smaller than Egypt. Iran is also ethnically very diverse. This is a sensitive topic because Iran takes national unity and territorial integrity very seriously. But only around 50 to 60% of the population is ethnically Persian. There are many minority ethnically groups, and they tend to be geographically concentrated in certain areas. The largest ethnic group is Azeris. Now, I want to note something really quickly on terminology here, and that is Azeri versus Azerbaijani. So Azerbaijan is the state that's just north of Iran in the Caucasus. People from Azerbaijan are called Azerbaijani. The language is called Azerbaijani. But people of the same ethnicity who live in Iran are called Azeri. But Azeris make around 15 to 25% of the population. Again, this is the most contested number because there's been a lot of intermixing between Azeri and Persian populations, particularly in Tehran. The next largest ethnic group is the Kurdish population, which is mostly concentrated in the western mountains, along the borders with Turkey and Iraq, obviously adjacent to Kurdish populations in those countries. There's also a population called the Lurs. This is a nomadic people that lives in the Alborz Mountains, and small populations of Baluch who live in eastern Iran, Arabs who live near the border with Iraq. Again, this is sensitive because this is where the biggest oil fields are. There are also Turkmen who live in northern Iran, and small other populations, for example, are Armenians. While Iran is very ethnically diverse, it doesn't exhibit quite so much religious diversity. 99% of the population is Muslim, and this is divided about 90-10 Shiite versus Sunni. The Sunni populations are actually the Kurds and the Baluch primarily. The Arabs in Iran are primarily Shia. The other thing worth noting about religions in Iran is this other 1%. It's divided almost evenly between Baha'i and Christians, with small Zoroastrian and Jewish populations. Traditional Christians, Zoroastrians, and Jews are actually all protected religious minorities in Iran. They've got official status in the constitution, representation in parliament, and other formal protections. How well those protections are enforced is a controversial matter, but it is the law. This is really in contrast to non-protected religions, and that's the Baha'i and Christian converts. Because those religions either came after Islam, in the case of Baha'ism, or people chose to become them after being Muslims, as with Christian converts, They're considered apostates, and there are very serious penalties for membership in those religions. The last thing that I wanted to note about Iran's geography and population is its age distribution. This is Iran's population pyramid. If you're not familiar with these, what these do is count the number of women and men in the country and then put it in a bar chart divided by age. So what you can see here is the age starting from age 0 to the top, age 100, and the length of the bars indicates the overall size of the population within that age group. Before we talk about Iran's population pyramid, I want to offer you some slightly more typical ones. On the left, you can see here Egypt's population pyramid, and this is actually pretty typical for a developing country. As income starts to rise in a country, as there's better access to healthcare or better access to food, populations tend to explode. And this generates a real demographic crisis for countries as they try to understand what to do with all these young people who have a hard time finding jobs, who are, tend to be better educated and have higher demands. You get lots of protests, as you did in Egypt. On the other side of the population pyramid, you can see an example like we have in Japan, where you've got a lot of people at middle age, but a really small number of children being born. This generates a very different type of demographic crisis, one where as the population ages over time, there actually won't be enough young workers to support Social Security and other types of welfare benefits for the elderly. So back to Iran. One of the really interesting things about the Islamic Revolution and the years immediately afterwards were that Ayatollah Khomeini and his government administration saw this huge surge in population that was happening at the time and decided to actually bring it under control. They implemented what we in the United States would call really progressive family planning policies, gave widespread access to contraception, really expanded local healthcare clinics, and they really actually did get their population boom under control. What this means for Iran is that the biggest age cohort is millennials. And as you all know, this isn't a youth bulge. This right now are people in their late 20s and in their 30s. And their primary concerns are usually, making sure that they can keep their good job or raising a family. And this has interesting political implications for how willing people are to protest and get out on the streets. You'll also note that Iran's fertility rate is a little bit on the rise. The current government has become increasingly concerned with Iranians not having enough children and reversed a lot of those progressive family planning policies. That said, Iranians still mostly have 2 kids per family nowadays. I'm now going to shift to talking a little bit about Iranian history.